Okay, so good morning again, one and all. The remaining part of our this exemplary design assignment that today we will try to cover completely. So as per the syllabus, one more topic is there, and that is the design steps of high frequency transformer. Okay, what is this high frequency transformer and where it is used? That already I explained during the explanation of detailed block diagram of that SMPS. Okay, at the output of that switch or switching transistor, this high frequency transformer is connected. And again, one more thing, why it is known as high frequency transformer? Because already I told the switching frequency mostly preferred in case of SMPS, it is from 20 kilohertz to onwards, correct? Right now. So if that switch or switching frequency of that switch, if we consider minimum as 20 kilohertz, so as compared to our conventional transformer, which operates on 50 hertz, the signal which we are applying to this transformer will be of very high, and that's why it is known as a high frequency transformer. The construction steps are almost same as that of our conventional transformer. Purposely I shown here that ferrite core material as well as the plastic bobbin on which that winding wounded. Again, there are basically two windings, that is primary and secondary. If there is need to step down the DC voltage, then this high frequency transformer can act as a or can be designed as a step down high frequency. If no need to step down the pulsating DC, then this transformer simply acts as a coupling transformer, or we can say high frequency coupling transformer. Or if there is need to step up, again accordingly the transformer can be designed and developed. Okay. Now, if we compare the size of this high frequency transformer, it is very small as compared to our conventional, and that's why the weight of SMPS, it is very less as compared to our linear power supply. Okay, because in linear power supply, that step down transformer, it is mandatory, and as that step down transformer is mandatory, then its weight also gets increased. Okay. So the steps are given here. You can also read that the ferrite transformer is wound over EE ferrite core compatible plastic bobbin. See, whatever that bobbin shown, it is known as EE ferrite core compatible. EE ferrite core means what? For the stamping purpose, in case of our conventional transformer, mostly that metal plates are used, right? That E-shaped metal plate or various shaped metal plates are there, which are used to minimize the losses across that transformer. Similarly, in case of this high frequency transformer, instead of that metal plates, the ferrite E-shaped material is used. Okay, shown in this second one. See this one. Whenever that wind is done, this bobbin, then these two E shapes from opposite side are inserted and they get stick to each other. So finally, such type of transformer gets formed. Right? Its size and weight, it is very less as compared to our conventional transformer. You have to remember here, as the frequency increases, operating frequency increases, the size it gets reduced. Okay. So the second step is the 1/2 primary is wound first using super enamel copper wire. Now see what is mean by this enamel. Do you know what is meaning of enamel? Can anyone? Okay. Are you seeing the winding wounded in that transformer, any transformer, conventional or this one high frequency, ferrite core or any else? Are you seeing the winding?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it only copper wire?
No, sir. On it, some covering is there.
Right. That covering, it is nothing but insulation. Correct na? So that copper wire is actually, it is insulated copper wire. Right. So it is insulated by using this enamel. Super enamel stands for what? It is a good insulator material. Okay, it's like our paint, right? So it is a good insulator, and that's why it is mentioned that primary is wounded first on that bobbin by using that super enamel copper wire. Okay, secure the end of this on one of the primary side pins of that bobbin. See, there are 4 pins you will observe to this bobbin. Okay, metal pins are there. So one pin we can connect as a starting terminal of that primary, and when that primary winding gets completed, the second end it will get soldered to the second pin, right? As shown here. So for example, suppose these 2 upper pins are used for primary, then one will be during the starting terminal and another pin that will be at the end. And once that primary will get completed, simply a paper it is just wrapped around that primary for the protection purpose, or we can say to give the better insulation between primary and secondary. Okay. See here it is mentioned cover the winding with a layer of insulation tape. Okay. Next, wind the secondary winding using copper wire over it. Again, that secondary copper wire is also super enamel copper wire. Terminate the ends on the secondary pins or bobbin. Now we can use that remaining 2 pins as a secondary terminals. Okay, one during the starting and another one during the end. Okay. Again, apply insulation tape over this winding. On this auxiliary winding. Okay, cover it with insulation tape. Now remember, in case of such type of we can say devices like SMPS, if there is need of feedback, then the auxiliary winding is mostly preferred. Auxiliary winding means what? That winding will have somewhat less number of turns as compared to that primary and actual secondary winding. Okay. So whenever the we can say power gets induced in the secondary or will get generated across that secondary, at the same time across auxiliary winding also there will be somewhat or we can say current will get induced and somewhat voltage we can obtain, right? But as it is, we are calling it as auxiliary with less number of turns, the voltage obtained, it is very less as compared to actual secondary obtained voltage. Okay. Now, that voltage basically it is preferred as a feedback voltage, or we can say to change the switching frequency of that switch, right? Finally, continue from the secured end of the primary winding and wind over turns over the above auxiliary wind to finish of the fair transformer coils. Put few layers of insulation tape to finalize the winding insulation. Fix that EE shape core and tape it in along this periphery. Make sure the EE core edges are separated with an air gap through a piece of insulation tape or paper. This will prevent core saturation and stalling of the desired SMPS induction. See, this last point, it is somewhat more important whenever you will be going to insert these 2 E-shaped ferrite cores across this bobbin. You will observe there are actual 3 faces, correct now, to this E-shaped material. So whenever you will be want to fix both from opposite side, don't touch these 2 faces directly with each other, right? You have to keep some piece of, we can say paper or any insulating material, thin insulating material. Why? It is required to avoid the saturation. Okay, to avoid the saturation, there should be a air gap, right? So these are the simple steps of design of that high frequency transformer. Now the next topic is isolation circuit. It is also very important while designing that SMPS. Okay, you will observe there is a feedback while studying the block diagram of SMPS. Already I mentioned there is a feedback between that output and the switching element. Okay, you will observe again in this circuitry where is that isolation circuit. See, you will observe optocoupler MOC 211. This is one of the example of that optocoupler. Okay, you can just note it, and you can check its datasheet also. So see that optocoupler, its LED. Optocoupler is nothing but what? The signal gets coupled optically. Okay, so there is one LED and another one is the phototransistor. So when this LED will go on to emit the light, that light waves will get inserted on the base terminal of that transistor, and there will be a conduction, or we can say conduction of that transistor will take place. Right? Whenever that LED will be off, this transistor also will remain off. Correct. And one more thing, you will observe there is no physical contact between that LED and the transistor. That means if we consider this LED side as the input of that optocoupler, the transistor side, that phototransistor, this side will be a secondary, right now? Primary side and secondary side, or input and output. There is no physical contact between input and output. So it is totally isolated. Whatever the output of that SMPS you are applying to that LED, it is totally isolated towards this digital switching circuitry. Okay. The circuitry, mostly it operates on a very low voltage, and that's why there is need to provide the isolation. Otherwise, there may be a chance if there is direct contact between that high or large output voltage and that switching element, then there is a chance that switching element may get damaged whenever some spikes gets occurred in the output voltage. That's why there is need of this isolation circuit. Okay. Again, I might have explained why there is need of this feedback. According to the change in load voltage, there should not be a change in load voltage according to change in load current. Correct now? That means we can say the percentage load regulation for SMPS, again, it should remain as a 0. Delta or that percentage load regulation is nothing but what? Voltage at no load minus voltage at full load divided by voltage at full load. So voltage at no load and full load, that should remain constant. Okay. But so many times, what happens whenever that load current starts to increase or load consumes more and more current, then there may be a chance that voltage may get slightly drop out. And the same voltage it is applied to this isolation circuit, and whenever it will get sensed as output voltage, it is not now as per the desired value, then that feedback circuitry, it is provided to the switching element. That switching element, it changes its PWM, which is connected to this switching transistor. See, that switching transistor, you will observe it is IRF 7603. It is a MOSFET. Okay. So according to the gate signal generated by this MAX 668, it is a PWM generator IC. Okay. It will go on to generate the PWM pulses with the preset frequency. If that IC senses that the output voltage is now not remain as a regulator or as per the desired value, then the IC automatically will go on to change the PWM that we can say transistor will conduct for a somewhat more time period. That means we can say its T-on may get increased, and whenever it will increase, automatically the output voltage it will refill or it will get boosted towards its original value. So that is the purpose of this feedback circuitry. Okay. If there is a direct feedback between that load side and the switching element, there is a chance of damage. So to avoid the damage of that switching element, as these are the digital ICs, we can say a small spike may go on to damage that ICs, and that's why there is need of isolation circuit. Okay. Is it okay? These two topics? Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll switch to that flyback design. Flyback converter. Again, the simplified diagram is shown. You can also very easily understood it. See, somewhat Vin, it is applied to the primary of that high frequency transformer, which we discussed. And the second terminal of primary of that high frequency transformer, it is connected here to the transistor, collector terminal of the transistor, and its emitter is grounded. Okay. Now there will be somewhat base signal generator or PWM generator which is applied to this base terminal, and whenever this transistor will get switched from its on to off and off to on, there will be a flow of current through the primary of this transformer. Now, as there are windings, we can say that winding will going on to work as an inductor, right? And that's why the current step that will get decided by that how we can determine the current by its di by dt rating, correct now? So the inductance of that primary of that transformer L di dt, that will be going on to decide the rate of rise of current to that primary whenever that transistor is in on state. Similarly, the current will get induced in the secondary, and again its rate of change will get decided by again L di by dt of that secondary winding of that transformer. So the same forms are shown. You will observe that primary current, it rise from 0 to peak whenever that switch is in on state. That means whenever transistor will on, the current will get rise to the primary of that transformer, high frequency transformer, from 0 to its peak value. Now at this stage, the transistor will get turned off, and then that saturated voltage, or can say the stored energy, it will transform to the secondary of that high frequency transformer. And that's why secondary current is shown in the second waveform, right? Whenever transistor will get turned off, then that stored energy will get transformed to the secondary, okay? And that's why initially it will be very large, and later on there will be a dissipation. That stored energy will get dissipated by the secondary of that high frequency transformer, and hence the dissipated current is also shown like this. Again, it will not be immediately zero, because L di by dt of that secondary winding of that transformer, and later on it will get repeated. So you will observe there is one gap. To avoid the saturation of that transformer, we can say that purposely that gap is provided. Okay. So you will observe the T on and T off, right? This T on and T off, that will be going to decide the duty cycle, and according to that duty cycle, whatever the output switch voltage is shown, see, whatever that output voltage is shown, sorry, switch voltage, and hence the net octane output voltage and its average value, it will get decided as per the duty cycle, that is by T on and T off for this shown transistor. Okay. Now one more thing, in the third waveform you observe the voltage, or it is mentioned as a switch voltage. Switch voltage means what? Voltage across this transistor. The shown transistor is BJT, that's why we'll consider here VCE. Okay. So whenever transistor is in on state, how much will the voltage across it? As per the shown waveform, it is shown as 0 volts, because it is considered that transistor is working into the saturation region, okay, not in the active region. And when transistor, that means BJT, particularly BJT, operates in saturation, we know the voltage drop across that transistor is minimum, very, very less, or ideally it is considered as 0 volts. Okay, so during its on state, during T on, the switch voltage is mentioned either as VCE or VDS. VDS means if it is a MOSFET instead of BJT, then it will be VDS. It is shown as a 0 volt, right? And whenever transistor will get turned off, the switch voltage is shown somewhat large, correct? But it is shown as a positive. See, it is above the x-axis. VC is shown as a positive. Why? Because whenever the transistor will be in on state, current will start to flow from V in, that means this current, primary current, it will flow from V in to the primary of that transformer, and then to the transistor like this, and hence the energy stored will have the polarity positive to the upper terminal of this primary and negative towards the secondary, correct? And when transistor gets turned off, that means current flow through the primary, it will get stopped, or it will be zero, because transistor, it will act as an open circuit, and already you know by the property of that inductor, that polarity it will get reversed. Means that downward terminal of that primary of that high frequency transformer, it will become positive and upper one will become negative. And we are measuring the voltage at the collector where the second terminal of that primary is connected to the collector of that transistor. So it is now at positive potential, is it? That's why it is shown as the positive with somewhat amplitude. So the shown amplitude of this VCE, it is nothing but, it is not a voltage drop across that switch, remember. This is not the drop across transistor. This is the voltage available across that transistor whenever it is in off state. And how much will be the amplitude of that voltage? That will depend on how much is the energy stored by this inductor, that is the primary of that high frequency transformer, right? And up to some time period, it will retain as it is. You will observe, see up to over here, the voltage across the transistor is retained as the maximum voltage, and later on, whenever that secondary current goes to zero, then that voltage gets down to V in amplitude only. Is it? Now why it is V in? Because transistor is in off state. We are measuring the voltage over here. Can you observe the cursor? Can you observe the
Yes.
cursor? I am showing movement of cursor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see,
Yes, sir.
see here, up to this time period, cursor is shown, up to this time period, the energy stored by the inductor, it is somewhat more as compared to V in, applied input voltage, right? Polarity gets reversed because transistor gets open. We are measuring what? VCE. That means voltage at this terminal with respect to ground or with respect to emitter. Emitter is grounded. Okay. So up to this time period, how much will be the voltage? That voltage will be equals to the energy stored by that inductor, or it is mentioned V in plus VO into N1 by N2. Is it? Are you getting it? Why it is written as plus VO into N1 by N2? Whenever you will apply that transformer equations, in this case, VO by V in, is it? VO by V in equals to what? Or V2 by V1 equals to N2 by N1. Correct now? That much will be the voltage available across this primary of that inductor, and hence that voltage will be greater than V in. V is already there plus charge stored in inductor. Is it? It will remain that much up to over here. Later on what happens? The secondary current goes to zero. Correct. Whenever secondary current will goes to zero, it indicates what? The discharge of that primary takes place completely. It will get totally discharged because that stored energy will get transformed to the secondary side, and that secondary through this diode we are utilizing the output voltage. Correct? So when that energy will be dissipated completely of that primary of that high frequency transformer through the secondary through diode to the load, then we can say secondary current will become zero, and whenever secondary current will become zero, the primary side stored voltage by the primary, it will be 0 volts, and hence how much will be the VCO, that is voltage measured at the collector. That means we are measuring the voltage, that is V in. And hence that step is shown just below it, that previous level. And how much is amplitude? Its amplitude is only V in. And that cycle gets repeat. Okay. Are you getting it? So this is the basic simple working principle of that flyback converter. Okay. So the same things are given here. All these PowerPoint and material already I shared on my Google Classroom. You just go through it, just read it. You will get cleared whatever I told. Okay. Now, in the data sheet, some recommendations are given by the manufacturers while designing that single-ended flyback converter. Recommended power semiconductors according to the requirement. Requirement means what? not only output voltage. Generally, we are considering design and develop that 5 volt SMPS or 5 volt linear power supply, etc., etc. But we have to consider in terms of wattage. We have to design and develop that particular power supply with this and this watt. Okay, that means we have to drive, suppose 20 watt DC bulb or lamp, okay, or 50 watt or 100 watt, because mostly for that CFL or that LED bulb, we are familiar. Mostly we are using like 7 watt LED, then 10 watt LED, 14 watt LED, 20 watt LED, etc. Is it? So that is the power consumption of that bulb, LED bulb. Okay. So here is mentioned output power. Suppose it is 50 watt. The line voltage, available line voltages are like 110 volt AC with 60 hertz, and another one is which we are using in our India, that is 220 volt and 50 hertz, right? So if line voltage is 220 volt AC, then for 50 watt, if this is the wattage of our load, for 50 watt load, DC load, the transistor requirement means the switching transistor. Okay. Maximum current should be of 1.2 ampere and maximum voltage should be of 800 volts. Correct. According to these requirements, that manufacturer mention the transistor also. Micro transistor in T0220 package form as BUX85, or you can go for BUX85F. Okay. Then if you want to use the MOSFET, then that number is also provided here. Okay. So you have to prefer these transistors. Then output rectifiers, output voltage. Output rectifier means what? In that previous diagram, over here, there is nothing but we can output rectifier. Okay, single ended with the filter capacitor. Right. Now remember one more thing, the secondary winding itself is acting as a filter also. Okay, that means the actual filter looking towards this diagram is LC type of filter with that single ended rectifier. So the diode or rectifier which we should prefer according to again the output load voltage. Okay. So see, if that output voltage requirement is 5 volt, is it? For 50 watt, we are considering 50 watt load and output voltage requirement is 5 volt. So you can easily calculate the current, load current. Is it? 50 watt, that is nothing but VI. Voltage available is suppose 5 volt DC voltage. Then you can calculate the current. That will be the current rating of your design SMPS. So if it is of 5 volt, then you have to prefer this diode, PBYR1635. Or you can check the features or details of all these components which are mentioned in this table. Right? Similarly for 10 volt, if your SMPS output is 10 volt DC, then you can go for these diodes. If it is 20 volt, then diode is separately mentioned like this. Is it? So according to the wattage output or total wattage requirement, the transistor gets changed, or various components are recommended by the manufacturer. Is it? So for 50 watt, 100 watt and 200 watt SMPS design by using this flyback, so all these are the components mentioned. Is it clear? Yes or no? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll see that design part of flyback converter. We'll consider that converter efficiency is as 80%, maximum duty cycle as 0.45. All these things you have to write in your journal also. Design a flyback converter with that given problem statement. So you have to refer all these things in detail. Maximum transistor voltage, that is VC, that is the voltage drop across transistor. It is considered as 2 volt. Okay, it is less than 2 volt, but maximum it is considered as that much. 2 volt is the drop across that on switch, either BJT or MOSFET, and plus somewhat leakage spikes. Okay. Maximum transistor current, it can be determined by using this equation, IC, collector current or drain current. If it is BJT or MOSFET, then it is equals to twice of output power divided by eta into maximum duty cycle into V min. Okay. Then DC voltage gain, if it is in continuous mode, then that gain is eta times D by 1 minus D. And if it is in discontinuous, then the AC voltage gain can be determined by using the given formula. Okay. So these flyback type converters, its applications are mentioned like lowest cost multiple out supplies in the 20 to 100 watt range. Example, then put TV supplies, then small computer supplies, etc. Okay. So basically, these flyback converters with the given range, that is 20 watt to 200 watt, are mostly preferred in such applications. So here I mentioned that problem statement, design a flyback converter for the following requirements. Output power, PO equals to 250 watts. Input voltage range, that is V in, it is available from 90 volts to 270 volts. Then the line frequency, it is also considered as a variable, 47 hertz to 65 hertz. Output voltage requirement is 400 volts. Switching frequency 100 kilohertz, and inductor ripple current, that is delta I. Ripple current means what? Peak to peak current. Okay, change in the inductor current or change in the that primary secondary current. In our previous discussion, I told that current it gets rise from 0 to its peak value. Correct. So that this is known as a ripple. Okay. So for this requirement, we have to design and develop that flyback converter. So these are few calculations are given. First step, calculating power P in. P equals to P out divided by eta. Now P out is mentioned. Our requirement is 250 watts and the efficiency, is it 0.95? Okay. Converter efficiency here it is taken as 80%, but for calculation purpose taken at 0.95. So input power requirement will be 263 watts. Then and then we can obtain that output DC power of 250 watts as per the requirement. Okay. Then calculate the peak input current. Formula is given again. I peak, that means whenever the switch will be on, how much should be the peak current? It is dependent on input power and input voltage into root 2. Okay. So input power divided by input voltage into root 2 will give you the peak input current or primary current, we can say. So it comes as 4.12 amperes. Input power already we determined, that is 263 watts. Okay, divided by input minimum, it varies from 90 volts to something is mentioned during our 90 to 270. Okay, so minimum condition, by taking that minimum input voltage, we can generate the peak current of 4.12 volts. Then calculate the input ripple current, that is delta I, to the primary of that high frequency transformer. That delta I, it is 0.2 into I peak, and it comes as 0.824 amperes. Then next step is calculate the maximum duty cycle. So that maximum duty cycle, it is determined by the formula. You have to note this formula, and according to our problem statement, you can calculate that maximum duty cycle. So in this case, as per the requirement, output voltage is considered as 400 volts. V in minimum, it is mentioned as 90 volts. So by putting all these values in this formula, you will get the duty cycle maximum of 0.683. Okay. Then calculate the required boost inductance. Okay. Inductance, this is nothing but the inductance of that secondary. Okay. It comes as 0.001 Henry. Okay. All that is standard formula. And in the application notes by that manufacturer, it will be given. Okay. So in this way, we can design and develop, or we can select that components. So by this calculation and with this given table, we can design that converter. Okay. So is it okay? And now the last part of this SMPS design, that is design of step down or buck converter by using LM3524. During the starting of lecture, I already mentioned about this IC. During our practical session, I will go on to show you the details, as well as I got one video also design related to design and develop 5-volt regulated DC with 1 ampere by using buck converter. Okay. So this is the that LM3524 regulating pulse width modulator IC, right? It is 16 pin, and this is the internal construction of that 3524. Okay. It will go on to just generate the PWM, and to the output side, if there is requirement of current boosting, then that circuitry is different. If no current boosting, that means only the basic regulator, then its circuitry is different. Okay. Now this is the data sheet. You will observe one thing in the data sheet, that manufacturer mostly prefers their own circuit diagrams and the components required. And its best example is, I will just show you. See, it is mentioned in the data sheet typical applications by using that LM324IC. It is positive regulator step up basic configuration, right? That means the output voltage will be greater than input voltage. Okay, so this is the first application, positive regulator with step up. I in max, it is only 80 milliampere. The obtained output will be somewhat more than the applied input. And that formula, design equations are given by the manufacturer, so no need to worry about it. Okay, so IO max we can calculate by taking I in into V in by VO, right? This much will be the maximum current flowing capacity of this regulator. Okay. Then second one is given as positive regulator step of boosted current configuration, right? Boosted current means it is possible by using such type of cascading of that transistor to its output terminal, right? How it will go on to boost that current. All these things are given in the previous that theory part in this application note, or we can say the data sheet of that particular component. Okay. Then the next application, it is mentioned as positive regulator step down. Actually, we require this one as per our design requirement. We require step down and positive regulator. Okay. So you can prefer this basic diagram also, or one more diagram is given in detail. Its design equations are also mentioned. Few components and their values, it is already mentioned by the manufacturer. Okay. Because there is somewhat significance of that fixed value components which are given in the application note. Okay, so don't change these values according to your requirement. Requirement means what? Suppose you require that output voltage this and this, then how much will be the value of this output filter capacitor, this L1, etc. How to determine it? That design equations are also mentioned. Is it? So by using that equations, you can design and develop. Then next one is positive regulator, again step down but boosted current. So for current boosting purpose, already I mentioned that transistor is mostly preferred. Okay. So by configuring that 3524 as per the given circuit diagram, you can design and develop that positive regulator with step down. That means output voltage will be less than that of applied DC input, but the current rating will be boosted current rating. Okay. Then boosted current polarity inverter. Polarity inverter means what? The output will be negative. Is it? So as per this diagram again, and the given by the manufacturer, you can configure that 3524 to obtain the polarity inverter also. Okay. Then see, in your journal, you have to start writing from this point, basic switching regulator theory and applications. Just note down it. It is given from page number 14. If you have notebook and pen, just note down it. You will require this thing. I will not going on to highlight or explain later on. Okay. Whenever you have to complete this first assignment, that is design of SMPS, in theory part, you have to write all these things. It is provided in the application note. Okay. From page number 15, you have to start from basic switching regulator theory and application. These things already we discussed according to the PWM, or that pulses applied to this switching element, that is transistor. We can obtain the output voltage by dividing the particular that duty cycle. Okay. Only one thing I want to highlight here, whenever that transistor will be on, this diode D1, it will remain off, but the positive potential will be applied to its cathode terminal. Current will flow through inductor and that load will get powered. This L1 and CO, it will going to act as a filter to smooth out that output voltage. Right. Then this diode D1, whenever the transistor will be off, polarity of this stored energy by the inductor, it will get reversed. Okay. And expected is what? That diode should get turn on. So see, during its on state, when Q1 is on, the node voltage VA will be positive because the direction of flow of that inductor current is as shown. And whenever that transistor will get turned off, the positive, that polarity, it will get reversed. Means VA will become negative, where the cathode of this diode D1 is connected. That means the inductor will discharge through the diode. Okay. So this is the basic working principle of such type of switching regulator. You all are already familiar with this. Okay. Then how that inductor current, it varies delta I. This is nothing but ripple. Remember, peak to peak. See, 40% of IO ripple is considered. This is average output current, and 40% ripple, it is accepted in the design. Okay. According to T on and T off. See, during T off, that energy gets dissipated, that means current gets down almost towards the zero. Okay. Right. And that equations are also mentioned. Now in that video, whatever I told, that student also referred the same equations according to this problem statement. Okay. So all these things you have to write in your journal while doing that first assignment. Okay. That is design and development of SMPS for 5 volt and 1 ampere current rating. Right. And the actual diagram which you have to draw is this one. It is given on page number 17. Okay. So this is, see, 5 volt 1 ampere step down switching regulator. This will be our problem statement. Design 5 volt 1 ampere step down switching regulator by using LM3524. Okay. This diagram you have to draw. And how the values of remaining components are determined, it is given in that video. So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So during our practical session, I will just show you that video and the important part of that video so that you can complete your this first practical. Okay. That is design and development of SMPS for the given problem statement. Okay. So, okay, our time is also over. So we'll stop here.